Welcome to Reddy Technologies. Today's topic, Selenium interview questions for fresher. Selenium. Selenium is a test tool. Another Selenium also there, that is Selenium component, chemical component. But our Selenium is test tool. Okay. What are the benefits of automation testing? See, fast. First one, fast. Say manual testing. When it compares to manual testing, automated testing is fast. Where, see, in software testing, two important concerns. One is test design, another is test execution. For test design, automated testing is not fast. Why? For writing automated test cases, human user means tester interaction is required. But for execution, tester interaction optional. Without tester interaction, tools can execute series of test cases quickly. So anyhow, test design is one-time activity, test execution multiple times. So definitely we can save that time in automated testing. If it is manual testing, for test case design as well as test case execution, manual user means tester interaction is mandatory, efforts mandatory, time mandatory. Okay, one is fast. Automated testing is faster than manual testing. Second one, reliable. Suppose human users may make mistakes in manual testing. But if you provide proper logic, automated test cases provide correct result every time. Next, reusable. We can reuse automated test cases on different versions of software. Next, repeatable. We can repeat same test case with multiple sets of test data-driven testing. Next, programmable. We can insert programming statements to speed up the test cases. For example, you can insert multiple verification points in a test case. If it is manual testing, human user can focus on one or two verification points only at a time. If it is automated test case, test tool is software, it can focus on multiple verification points at a time so that you can insert multiple verifications at a time. Suppose 10 conditional statements, 10 loop statements you can insert. But don't make complex. See, final automated test case scope is very high than manual test case. Next, comprehensive. Say, if it is automated testing, you can create test batches. Next, tool can execute test batches quickly, continuously, without human user interaction. Suppose if it is manual test case, for each and every test case in your test batch, you need to execute the test case manually. Time required, efforts required. See, these are the important advantages of automated testing over manual testing. Fast, reusable, reliable, repeatable, programmable, and comprehensive. Next, what is Selenium? What are the different Selenium components? Selenium is a test tool. Basically, it was designed for functional and regression testing of web applications at system test level. Selenium for automated functional testing of web applications, browser-based applications, and it is open source. Nowadays, it is popular tool. Selenium is number one tool in the automated testing category. Okay. Next, different Selenium components. Earlier, we had four components: Selenium IDE, Integrated Development Environment; Selenium RC, Remote Control; next, Selenium WebDriver; Selenium Grid. Now, Selenium RC was removed from Selenium Suite, Selenium Tool Suite. Now, only three components: Selenium IDE, Record and Playback Tool; next, Selenium WebDriver; next, Selenium Grid for parallel testing. Next, why should Selenium be selected as test tool? See, it is already I told, it is number one test tool nowadays in the market. Number one test tool. Next, second one, open source. Open source. If it is commercial tool, you need to purchase the license. It is open source. Next, one more thing, it supports various programming languages to write test cases. You can choose your interested language or popular language, industry popular language. Say it supports Java, Python, C Sharp, JavaScript, Ruby, and Kotlin. Suppose other tools, suppose UFT, Unified Functional Testing, formerly QTP. UFT supports only VB script. Next, RFT supports either .NET or Java. But our Selenium supports six programming languages. You can select any one of those languages. That's why Selenium tool is preferable. Next, what are the testing types supported by Selenium? See, according to Selenium official website, selenium.dev, Selenium was designed for, or Selenium was developed for, functional and regression testing of web applications. But it supports little bit performance testing. In performance testing, we have several subsets: load testing, stress testing, endurance testing, spike testing, data volume testing, etc. It supports load testing and stress testing, but it is not recommended for performance testing. They clearly mentioned in their documentation, if you want to test, if you want to perform performance testing, you go for JMeter like tools. Our Selenium was not intended for that. Next, Selenium supports acceptance testing. Acceptance testing is not a test type like functional testing. It is test level. Actually, we independent testers conduct software testing at system testing level, testing on integrated system. But it supports acceptance testing also with the help of Cucumber, with the integration of Cucumber like lightweight tools. Selenium can conduct what is that one? Acceptance testing. But basically it was designed for functional testing at system testing level. Next, what is Selenium license? Selenium is an open source software. Then why license? Okay, even though it is open source software, sorry, it has a license. Apache 2 license. What is the objective of license? What is the objective of Apache 2 license? See, anybody can download and use Selenium with free of cost. Next, anybody can download Selenium software and modify the source code and use it and distribute it to others. So next, third one, selling modified code is not allowed. No commercial activity. Why? Selenium is not yours. What is selling modified code? Suppose I downloaded Selenium software, I can use it. Suppose if I have programming knowledge, I can modify the source code. Suppose just assume Selenium has 20 features now. I added 2 more features. I can use it with free of cost. I can distribute to others with free of cost. Suppose if I want to sell that one, suppose I added some features, I want some money, like selling that modified code is not allowed. That is the objective of Apache tool license. Say Selenium is an open source test tool or open source software. It has license called Apache 2.0. Next, Selenium test environment setup is some difficult than other tools like UFT, RFT, etc. Why? Okay, Selenium is is not inclusive test tool. See, Selenium is not all inclusive test tool. So we need to configure Selenium with some third party plugins and frameworks in order to broaden the scope of testing. Why? It is open source. Suppose if it is UFT, Unified Functional Testing, there is commercial tool. RFT, commercial tool. You can install UFT or RFT and start working with them. Why? Suppose if you install UFT, VB script engine built in with UFT. Next, MS Access engine built in with UFT for supporting SQL commands. Next, built-in features available: recording, checkpoints, output values, recovery scenarios for handling runtime errors, etc. Next, object repositories available, built-in spreadsheet, Excel-like, not Excel-like spreadsheet available for data-related operations. But our Selenium is not like that. Suppose if you want to create Selenium test environment, you need to install programming language, Java or Python, etc. based on your selection. Next, for writing test cases, Eclipse IDE like editor required, platform required. Next, Maven integration required for optimized test environment setup and maintenance. Next, TestNG like framework required for creating test batches, executing test batches, and generating test results. So Selenium is not an all-inclusive test tool like commercial tools, UFT, RFT, etc. We need to configure some third-party plugins and frameworks in order to broaden the scope of testing. So Selenium test environment setup is some difficult than other tools. Next, what is the latest version of Selenium WebDriver? As of now, latest version of Selenium WebDriver is 4.3. According to Selenium official website, selenium.dev. Next, what is the Selenium official website from where we get Selenium software development? Sorry, from where we get Selenium software and Selenium documentation. I already told this answer 2 times. Selenium official website is selenium.dev. Previous website seleniumhq.org. From that website, we can download Selenium software and you can get Selenium documentation. Next, what are the different types of element locators in Selenium? See, Selenium supports web application testing. It recognizes web elements or HTML elements on web pages. and perform actions. Say Selenium supports 8 HTML element locators or web element locators. ID, name, class name, link text, tag name, link text, partial link text, CSS selector, and export. Next, what is the most preferred element locator by Selenium? See, according to Selenium's selector tips, most preferred element locator is ID. If ID is available, unique, then give first priority to ID. If ID not available, you can choose other locators. Next, what is the most powerful tool in the Selenium Tool Suite? We already discussed Selenium components. Earlier we had four components: Selenium IDE, Selenium RC, Selenium WebDriver, and Selenium Grid. Now only three components. Selenium RC was removed. Selenium IDE, prototype tool, record and playback tool. Next, Selenium WebDriver, powerful tool in this suite. It supports test case design and execution. So it supports 6 programming languages or writing test cases. You can choose any one of those languages. It supports data-driven testing, batch testing, database testing, etc. Next, Selenium Grid. It is only for test execution, parallel testing. Selenium Grid doesn't support test design. So, Selenium IDE, record and playback tool, that is browser plugin, lightweight tool. So now in Selenium suite, Selenium IDE, Selenium WebDriver, Selenium Grid. Powerful tool is Selenium WebDriver. Okay. Next, what is the use of testing framework in Selenium? Say, already we discussed it. Selenium is not an all-inclusive test tool. It requires some third-party plugins and frameworks in order to broaden the scope of testing. Say we use testing framework like JUnit or TestNG or NUnit or PyTest, etc. As we use testing framework as test runner in Selenium Test Environment. When it comes to detailed explanation, testing framework for creating test batches, prioritizing test cases, executing test batches, and generating test reports. Selenium WebDriver doesn't have built-in result report facility. Using testing framework, we can generate test reports. Next, how to select testing framework for Selenium. See, testing framework selection depends on your programming language. Suppose if you select Selenium, if you select Java for Selenium, then supported framework is either JUnit or TestNG. Suppose if you select .NET for Selenium, .NET C#, .NET programming language for Selenium, C# for Selenium, then supported framework is NUnit. Suppose if you select Python for Selenium, then supported frameworks are PyUnit or PyTest. So framework selection depends on programming language. Suppose I selected TestNG for Selenium. Why? I am using Selenium with Java with Selenium. I am using Java with Selenium, so that I selected TestNG testing framework. Okay. Next, is Selenium supports acceptance testing? Yes, according to Selenium official website documentation, Selenium supports acceptance testing. Okay, functional testing type at acceptance test level. Next, what are the advantages of Maven integration with Selenium? Maven is a build automation tool for Java software projects. In our Selenium test environment also, we use Maven integration. If you use Maven integration with Selenium, then it supports test environment setup. You can set up the test environment manually. Suppose if you use Maven, it can set up the test environment if you provide software dependency codes. See, using Maven optimized test environment setup and test environment maintenance. Next, what is POM in Selenium? POM. We have two POMs in Selenium. One is famous one is page object model. Another is project object model in Maven project. That is less popular. Popular one is page object model. What is page object model in Selenium? See, I already told Selenium doesn't have built-in features. It doesn't have UI, user interface. It has API, application programming interface only. This POM, page object model design pattern for creating object repositories for Selenium. No built-in object repositories in Selenium. Using page object model, we can create object repositories. Next, what IDE you prefer for writing Selenium test cases? IDE, integrated development environment. Selenium doesn't have UI, user interface. For writing Selenium test cases, IDE, at least editor required. See, this IDE, integrated development environment, selection depends on your programming platform. Suppose if you select Java for Selenium, you can prefer Eclipse IDE. Next, if you select Python for Selenium, then PyCharm IDE. I am using Eclipse IDE. Why? I am using Java programming language. So, I am using Eclipse IDE for writing Selenium test cases. Not only for writing test cases, using that IDE, we can integrate Selenium with other software. Selenium with Java, next to Maven, TestNG, extent reports, etc. plugins. Next, how to conduct negative testing using Selenium. See, not only using Selenium, if it is manual testing or any other test tool testing. For conducting negative testing, generally we use invalid input. Valid input for positive testing, invalid input for negative testing. Suppose for your test case, no test data, means no input field in your test case. That time we use correct expected result for positive testing, incorrect expected result for negative testing. But for generally, we conduct positive testing using valid input. Conduct negative testing using invalid input. Next, how to conduct positive and negative testing using a single test case. Suppose if you want to conduct positive and negative testing using a single test case, see, the completeness of software testing is positive and negative testing. If you want to conduct positive and negative testing using a single test case, for that data-driven test case required. Using a data-driven test case, we can conduct positive scenarios and negative scenarios in single test case. Next, how to conduct parallel testing using Selenium. Say, Selenium components or Selenium's tool suite, we have a tool called Selenium Grid. It is for conducting Selenium parallel testing. Selenium Grid tool is there in our Selenium tool suite. Using Selenium Grid, we can conduct parallel testing. Parallel testing means executing test cases using different what is that one, operating environment and browser environments parallelly. Suppose if you create 100 test cases, want to execute these 100 test cases using Microsoft Windows, Macintosh and Linux platforms, next using Microsoft Edge, Google Chrome and Mozilla Firefox browsers as per customer requirement. If you want to execute these 100 test case using different platforms, time required. If you select parallel testing using 2 or 3 missions, means computers, you can conduct parallel testing. Suppose on first computer executing 100 test cases on Windows operating system, on second mission executing 100 test cases using Linux operating environment, next on third mission, means computer, executing 100 test cases using Macintosh, Mac operating environment. Next, using another computer using that Google Chrome browser. Next computer using what is that one, Edge browser. Next, Mozilla Firefox browser. Using by executing your test cases in parallel using Selenium Grid tool, you can save the time. Next, what is Selenium license? I think we already discussed this one. Selenium license. Selenium basically is open source software, but it has a license Apache 2. Apache 2. Next, what is captcha field in web applications? See, nowadays you can find captcha. Captcha means verification code. Captcha fields in web applications. Especially for registrations, Gmail registration or some registrations. Why? In order to avoid automation users, nowadays web applications are using captcha. Captcha means security code. Otherwise, using some tools, not test tools, some tools, spammers may dump thousands of records, millions of records to Gmail database, Yahoo database, etc. In order to avoid that automation spam users, nowadays public web applications are using captcha field. Captcha means verification code. Next, how to inspect HTML or web elements. See, Selenium doesn't inspect HTML elements. Using a browser, either Mozilla Firefox or Google Chrome or Edge, we can inspect HTML elements. Next, how to identify unique locators in Selenium. Say, for identifying unique element locators for writing test cases, first we need to follow Selenium selector tips that are available in Selenium documentation. Next, perform dry runs. Suppose you select ID, first give priority to ID as per Selenium documentation, Selenium selector tips, and conduct a dry run. Dry run means sample run. If it is executing fine, continue with that locator. Suppose if it is duplicate, if it is not executing fine, then you can change the locator and conduct a dry run. Say, by following Selenium selector tips and conducting dry runs, sample runs, we can identify unique locators for elements. Next, is Selenium supports database testing? Yes, using Selenium, we can conduct database testing, but Selenium doesn't support database testing directly. Using programming language support, Selenium support, Selenium performs database testing. See once again, Selenium doesn't support database testing directly. Using programming language support, it performs database testing. For example, if you select Java for Selenium, for Java, JDBC, Java Database Connectivity API is there. Using Java JDBC, we can connect to backend databases and conduct database testing. Thank you.